everyone, and welcome to Titanic Weekend 2026 aboard the Queen Mary. We're doing a fun, creative roundtable with creators who are making content, Titanic-centric content today, 114 years after the ship went down. And we're about to introduce our panel, but first, let's say hello to our live audience.
Hey-o.
They're up at 9 a.m. to hear this talk. We're on the Queen Mary, as I mentioned. It's April 13th, 2026, just for the history books. And we're going to go down the line. We'll introduce ourselves. I want to hear from each person here. What's your name? What's your channel, or what platform are you on? And why did you start it? Yes, I put the H in why because I respect the language. So we'll start. I'll start with myself. My name is Paul Carganilla. I host the Titanic Legacy podcast. I started it. It's wherever you can find your podcasts, and the video version is on YouTube. I started it because I am a creator. I've always been, since my parents met in theater and band, and so I grew up around creative people. I went to school for theater. After theater, I worked for the Disney Corporation for 15 years as a creator, and I started a podcast that examines. I've always been fascinated about the creative process and inspiration and what keeps people going, the fire that leads people through doorways in life. And I love to examine that. And I had a podcast that just simply examined that. And my first season of it was 40 episodes. And once it was over, I took a step back and realized 15 of those 40 episodes were Titanic related. So I thought, I'm examining what leads people through doors, and this is clearly telling me I should start some sort of Titanic something, even though I knew that the Titanic podcast landscape was it's thoroughly saturated with content. But I wanted to start my show just talking to people who are still creating, still inspired, still making new, writing books or doing web series or making movies, and still creating things that are Titanic-centric. And so that's why I started Titanic Legacy. And big shout out to Brad Payne. I had no idea he had Titanic Legacy Facebook and website already, but so that's who I am and why I'm here. Next up.
Hi, my name is Melissa Ratliff. I'm a journalist in real life, but I have a basically Titanic TikTok channel. Yes, that app that everybody is, it's always controversial. And I've always been a fan of the Titanic since I was in second grade. That's when it started. TikTok started as a dancing app. I can't dance. I posted one dance video and somebody said, whose mom is this? So I voted never to put another dancing video. And I just started telling Titanic stories on the app under my handle, Melissa Fairlady. But I had a video on Titanic's second officer, Charles Herbert Lightoller, blow up in the millions. And it led to my account kind of blowing up with these Titanic stories. If you think there's not an audience for that kind of content, there is. I have 404,000 followers on TikTok, and it led to me starting my podcast, God's Favorites, a history podcast. I relate because the vast majority of my episodes are also Titanic related. And this, it's built a wonderful community on TikTok. And just aside from my connection to Titanic alone, it's also led me to helping save Second Officer Lightoller's boat from Dunkirk in a crowdsourcing that we're still working on to this day. It was in very bad condition. This is Sundowner, the boat he used in Dunkirk. And that is basically what I do. I love telling these stories and keeping these people alive in a new digital format.
Excellent. Hello, my name is Alexandra Boyd. I came to Titanic officially in 1996 when James Cameron cast me in his little film. And I was offered 4 guaranteed days that turned into 2 months. I did have some lines, but they were all cut. And I turned lemons into lemonade and made a silly little show reel going, oh, you missed me, didn't you? Why don't you watch it again and you'll find me up there. And after we completed the film and it won 11 Oscars, somebody in our group of supporting actors suggested that we write down our experiences because it clearly had been something so extraordinary and unique and obviously never to be repeated. So I sort of became the headmistress and said, right, everybody has to hand in their homework and describe to anyone and everyone your audition, your experience of seeing the set, being on the set, your costumes. Did you play a real person? What was the research you did? And I got 28 of those actors to do that. And we set out to look for a publisher, but the ship had sailed, literally. Hollywood is very transient and very in the moment. So by 1998, it had just gone away. But then 25 years later, in that time, I had become a filmmaker and I'd made my first feature film. And it was COVID. And the 25-year anniversary of the film was coming around. And I suggested to one of my producer friends that we find these actors again and sit them down and have them read from their diaries for the very first time in 25 years. And of course, the outcome was quite extraordinary because the memories for them came flooding back in the most extraordinary way. And I also realized that the reason we were still talking about Titanic was because this film had generated an entire new generation of people who were passionate, and I will use the word obsessed, with the ship and the film through the lens of the film. So I included some of them to represent pretty much, I think, everybody in this room and beyond. So that became a project, a passion project that is of its own entity. It's a 90-minute feature film. It's on Amazon Prime here and in the UK, and we're about to release it everywhere in the world on YouTube. To promote the film, Nelson Aspin, who helped me with my monologue audition, we started a podcast. And similar to Paul's experience, we now have 60 episodes of people who just wanted to sit down for 40 minutes and talk about Titanic. And as a result, our particular community has grown exponentially. And I think some of you are in this room because you're listeners to that podcast. But I still have these diaries in my computer, and they need to be read, they need to be seen, because not only are they interesting to Titanic fans, they're a chunk of film history that has disappeared. We no longer make movies the way James Cameron made that film. Even though he used a lot of CGI, he spent a lot of money. That era has passed. And this film is a representation of how films were made in the 90s, but it's something else as well. So I have collated 16 of those 28 diaries. Some people have passed away, so it's a little hard to ask permission. And I have 16 of those diaries that will be printed in their entirety. It's called Titanic Movie Diaries, and it will be published next March in time for the 115th anniversary. So I didn't set out to be a content creator. I promise I didn't. I thought I'm just a jobbing actress, and I've done many, many other things. But here I am, 30 years later, talking about a ship that's 2.5 miles below the Atlantic Ocean. And we're still fascinated, and we still want to step aboard her. And I feel like I'm a slight conduit to that experience. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for coming.
Your heart's fire lit a torch and you followed it through the corridor.
My heart will go on.
There you are. Sam.
Yes, my name is Sam Pence. I run a YouTube channel called Historic Travels, and a little bit of the channel. I had no intention of ever becoming a YouTube content creator. I just did not think that was in the path for me. Before YouTube, I actually was, and I still do it now, it's my primary job. I'm a quality control technician, so I work on construction projects. My company basically designs things, and I make sure that the contractors don't mess it up when they're building it. And when I was before COVID, because I got going on YouTube in 2020, I think, I was working out in Arizona on a copper mine. And while I was out there, there was a lot of downtime just watching the dozers running and all that. And I would listen to Titanic podcasts. I would listen to THG, like live streams, like repeats of your real-time syncing animations and all that. So I was always interested in this stuff. Even when I was a kid, it was the James Cameron film that originally started it. And then COVID happened, and myself, like so many others, lost my job, and I was trying to figure out how to get started again. And while I was applying, I'm like, I'm going to give this YouTube thing a try, because everybody knows the Titanic hit an iceberg, but not everybody knows about the little stories that go along with the Titanic. Like one of my personal favorite people on board the Titanic, Charles Joukin, who made it his mission the ship would sink with as little alcohol on board as possible. So I'm like, let's start making some videos about these people, because I think people would like to hear about that, or Eva Hart, or Frederick Barrett, Murdoch. And so that's what I started doing, was just making videos covering 10, 15-minute little stories on one individual aspect of the Titanic. And people loved it. And so I did that while I was applying for work. And yeah, eventually YouTube became another job, and I loved it. You know, I loved being able to take my hobby, my passion, and sharing it with so many other people. It meant the world to me. I'm so used to being the only one in my group that's into this stuff. So it was really cool to share it. And then that means a lot. And, you know, and just hearing all the comments and the responses I got, it was incredibly cool. And then getting to finally meet the guys with THG and all that, creating all the amazing animations and stuff, and there's just something about diving into these history books and just finding all of these stories. Like, I forget their names, but the Titanic orphans, the two kids who, yeah, yeah, like I did a whole thing about them. And it's just, can you imagine, like, because their mother didn't even know that they were on the Titanic, and she opened up a newspaper and, like, she's in France and she sees that they're in New York looking for their parents. I'm like, what? Like, that's just, like, that was just one of the most insane stories. And anyway, just finding these stories, making these videos, and, you know, seeing that there's so many people still passionate about Titanic and all the history and all the incredible people I've gotten to meet. It means the world to me. And I love it that I'm here on the Queen Mary talking with all of you fine people. And yeah, it means a lot to me.
We were talking as we were setting up, like, usually if you mention you like Titanic, and you're in some sort of work group or something, people will be like, oh, that's cute. But here we feel like, we're with our people. This is awesome. It's a big warm hug.
Well, and like when I was a kid, because I was 6 or 7 when the James Cameron film came out, and I was like, what's Titanic? Like, I remember I was at my grandfather's house, and it was the scene where Murdoch said, shouldn't we put the women and children into the boat, sir? Like, that's the first scene of the movie, and I can paint a picture. It's so vivid in my mind. But then my parents didn't want me watching the sinking and all that all the time. So I actually grew up watching the 1953 film because it's a little bit more tame than the James Cameron one. But yeah, I grew up. I love Titanic. That passion never faded. And yeah, I'm very happy and very thankful to be here today.
My kids have seen the movie about 100 times, but they have no idea that Kate ever gets naked. So. Sarah.
Hello, my name is Sarah Brenneman, and I am a scriptwriter and researcher for the YouTube channel Ocean Liner Designs. And I don't really have this fabulous origin story as much as my cohorts up here with me, but I grew up loving Titanic. Since again, I was about 7 years old too when the movie came out, and just like you, I was like, what is a Titanic? But when the movie gripped me, it really, really, really gripped me. And the story of it just did not leave my mind for the rest of my life. But I never really knew what to do with that sort of fascination and the hold that it had on me. It was something where it was very much like you were saying, like, you talk to other people at work, at school, wherever you might be, and you try to talk about Titanic, and they're just like, I know what Titanic is. That's cool. And then that's about where the conversation goes. So I never really knew what to do with my obsession until about 3 years ago or so, when I had been following Mike's YouTube channel for probably, at that point, maybe 9 months, I think. And I just decided to, because I actually have a background in writing. That's what my degree is in. And I decided to ask Mike, hey, do you need any help with the channel? And his almost immediate email reply back was, yes, please. So he
Not
got
to
me
interrupt you, but what channel is this? Is this our friend?
our friend. Mike Brady from Ocean Liner Designs. Yes,
Okay.
the very same. Yes. And so he got me to work pretty quick writing scripts specifically on Titanic. And that was kind of where I was like focused. But if any of you follow the channel, our scope definitely exceeds outside Titanic. We keep Titanic central because that is like the heart and soul of like maritime history from a lot of people's perspective. But we talk about so much more than that. But as time went on and I started writing more and more, differing ship stories and things like that, I ended up being like, what can we talk about Titanic that hasn't been, rehashed over and over again? And the one thing that we landed on that I've been really enjoying writing is the day in the life of the Titanic series. So we talk all about, what was it like for the first class people during the sinking? What were the third class, being so confused, and some of them trapped below decks, like, oh, the sinking must have been terrifying. But what was it like on an average day on Titanic? It's just a sea day. We're just enjoying ourselves. What was that like for each class? And so we wrote videos for each one. The first class one, including Max Miller from Tasting History. If anyone knows that channel, that was a privilege to work with him. And since then, we've worked on, so many other projects as well. But Titanic really is, like I said, just like the beating heart of the whole thing. And I'm very happy to say that I've been able to take this thing that, from childhood, I had no idea what to do with. And go from working in a music store where I was kind of miserable. For 10 years, I worked retail and smiled at customers, and now I get to do YouTube, and I get to do ships, and it's like the coolest thing ever, just being able to write about these stories, these people, and being able to interface with the community as well, because I also handle much of our social media and marketing. So I get to do a lot of interfacing with our community. And it's been such a privilege being able to be this close to all of this. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just so grateful that this gets to be my job. Like, I can't believe it. Every single day I look at my husband. I'm like, how did I get here? But here I am. And yeah, like I said, I don't, it's just kind of like a girl sitting behind her computer writing scripts, but it is the privilege of a lifetime. So that's what I do.
You followed the torch as well, and it led you through a door you had no idea.
And I'm not looking back anytime soon, I'll tell you that.
Speaking of content creators, someone who probably didn't set out to be, knowing him and his personality, didn't set out to be a content creator, but followed his heart to really light the fire, and really a big driving force for us being here this weekend is Titanic Honor and Glory, and we have the man right here.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Matthew DeWinkler, executive producer of Titanic Honor and Glory, which is a crazy project. And it, like Paul said, we didn't plan to ever be content creators. One of the good things of going last-ish in this row is that everybody said everything that I was going to say about myself and my project and my YouTube. So thanks. Don't have to repeat anything, but no, it's true. Titanic Honor and Glory from the get-go was just a project to create a video game of the Titanic, which sounds so blasphemous sometimes, but so initially we decided, okay, well, this is years ago. We'll put on our YouTube channel, we'll explain what the game is, and that people will realize it's not like a notorious running around shooting things game that sometimes the video game industry gets a bad rep for. There's politicians always saying video games are causing all the school shootings, etc., issues like this, and we're like, that's not true. You guys should know that. You're just trying to find something to point all of your excuses towards. We realize the value in a video game right away. A book is amazing. We all love books, but there's so much more that can go into a video game. You can have books and books worth of knowledge, imagery, stories in a video game. Not to say there's anything wrong with books again. Same with movies. A movie, you follow just one main character. You can be the main character. You can find so many other stories in there. And so the YouTube channel at first was just to explain what the heck's going on, and also kind of talk about our discoveries as we were engineering Titanic again. We just post these random things that were really nerdish to us, like, oh, we found different windows. Oh, we got this. We made the propeller look like this or something. But it didn't pop off until we weren't the first, so we're not going to claim that we're the first. We just got lucky, really. That's kind of the magic and the horror of the YouTube algorithm. Even back in 2016, when we made our real-time syncing, the whole team did, which we all look at now and think that's the most disgusting thing ever. The color is awful, the quality is awful, but it was done in a rush. But it's now plateaued-ish at a 100 million views. I think it's 95 million, and that's unheard of for our little YouTube channel at the time. So it just blasted off, and then but post that, we realized, okay, we can put more things out here that's Titanic related, and hopefully people will love it. They're not that real time syncing of almost 100 million views now has still been the driving force behind our moving our YouTube channel. But flash forward a little bit, we're trying to do the same things that everyone else here is doing with their content for Titanic. We just love Titanic, our team. So when we get excited about one little thing or one story that we hear, we're like, this could be a great YouTube video that we'll do someday. But there's so many things that Titanic Honor and Glory is trying to do. We are famous and infamous for snowballing things. But the YouTube is a vital aspect of it, because it brings in new people for the project and just for Titanic. But it's, as Sarah said, it's a job. The revenue that comes in from YouTube can help pay people on the project and on the team, which is why we always are trying to make it grow, not just to be popular or anything like that. So yeah, I used to go back to COVID. Now I'm going to Sam. COVID hit, and I luckily had just quit. Like, I don't know if it's lucky, because then I wouldn't get a severance. I quit a job right before COVID, and then I thought, like, okay, I don't know what to do, and I created my own little Titanic channel, Titanic University, and I was just making videos about the tiny minutia of Titanic things. This is when it's starting up. You have a little Patreon for yourself, and you have to create a video a week. It's so difficult to create content, and I'm sure everyone here is going to talk about how the struggle for content creation is. But the THG has kind of eaten up Titanic University, and now we have some amazing writers, and we have on THG David, who's here somewhere. Where is he? David, you're right there. And Miles back home, and of course our animator Jack, who makes all of our visuals now. For a couple of the people here, he's made amazing things, and that team is focused on creating the content for THG now to hopefully grow our channel a lot more. We're planning on a lot of new content weekly, hopefully starting next month. I'm scared, but it will help out the THG project to pay more people to model things, and programmers and researchers. It benefits everybody, I think, because everybody here can just eat up Titanic content. I never think there's enough Titanic content. I know it's highly saturated, but there's so many options, so many great things, and even the small channels where people are just starting out to talk about how they love Titanic. That's like valuable, wonderful stuff to hear and listen. So yeah, I don't know why I'm a Titanic content creator. I just read the scripts now, but I try to organize it the best I can, and yeah, that's what we do at THG. Again, thanks.
You don't think you're a content creator?
No, I don't want to be. I don't. It's a very stressful job, don't you think?
Pretty much everybody at THG does not fit the mold of content creator. We're very
or our own roles that we have assigned to us. So
we talk
doing
about
this?
it all the time. That we at THG we have 400,000 followers. We have that real-time syncing that's still viewed every day. There's no excuse for our YouTube channel to not be thriving, and then we just don't post on it for 2 months, because we're much better about it now, thank God, for Jack and his animations, but all of us, we just don't have the brain of somebody like some of you guys who can create things on a more of like a daily basis or even a weekly basis. Because if you don't know, with the YouTube world at least, it's all about the cadence of posting videos at the right time of day and the right
It's the scary
pace.
algorithm.
Like the algorithm, it's truly. I work. My real job is I work at a what is essentially a YouTube studio. We make YouTube videos and operate YouTube channels for like Peacock and Amazon Prime and music, like big companies. And it's like the rigidity of, if you miss a post, it ruins everything. Like YouTube drops you. It's crazy. And so we're really bad at keeping up to that algorithm. Anyway, so I'm James. I don't want to take up too much time because I think we're already halfway through this thing, and we want to get through more questions. And I've been talking all weekend, but I work with THG, but my biggest reason for being up here is I'm a content creator, in that I have a podcast as well called Witness Titanic. It started a couple years ago because I've always wanted to have a podcast. People have always said, James, you talk about Titanic too much. You should have a microphone and do it by yourself. And I was like, yeah, that's great, but there's already Titanic podcasts. I've listened to some of them, and I don't really see how I would bring anything new to the table. And I don't want to just do a podcast that's the exact same thing as someone else's. And then it wasn't, there's this thing, and I talked about this a lot last year during this roundtable. My advice to everybody here, if you're thinking about starting something, is to just find out what lights you up inside, and suddenly it'll just happen, and it won't feel like work, and you will hate leaving your desk because you're doing the thing that, oh, I got to go to bed. No, I have to eat food. No, like that feeling. And for me, that didn't ignite until I asked myself, so what ignites me about Titanic? And it's always come back to survivor testimony. I love reading their words and just trying to reach out to them, And so that's what the podcast is. I focus on witness testimony. I interview them, sort of, and we're going to do a live recording of the podcast later today, which I'm really excited about. So that's what I do. It's on YouTube and stuff. And again, I'm very bad at it. I need to find an editor. Like I can't do this by myself, but we're all doing our best. And then I don't help as much with THG's content creation as much as I did coming out of COVID. Coming out of COVID, it was like full-time THG content.
You were the
stuff.
driving force.
I was trying my best to
credit where credit's due.
Reinvigorate the project, but then when COVID kind of went away and we all had to go back to having jobs again, I had to sort of take a step back. And so, but luckily things are going better than ever over there as well. So I got to say, with all these people up here, and all these people here as well, it's like a golden age of Titanic content. And then this counts as content creation, by the way, this event. Like, we are creating content just by having you all here. Like, it is a great time to be a Titanic fan.
We're literally recording a podcast right now.
That's so true.
I think we're living in a very amazing moment in time, where I think back to, we have legendary historian Don Lynch in the room, but I think of times when, he's obviously the head historian of the Titanic Historical Society, and they would get together. They would, through, I guess, mail, they would send out invitations, and people would gather.
What's mail?
Right? Gather and talk about Titanic. But other than getting the commutator every quarter or every whenever, however often it came out, like, you had to wait for new Titanic content to consume. And today we just hop online, we go on Google, we find a new podcast, we go on YouTube, we find a new YouTube channel, and we find a community that is ready to talk about Titanic any time of the day, any day of the week. And that is both a blessing, but it can also be a curse. So before I send it out to the audience for any questions that they might have, I'd like to hear if anybody here on the panel has an unexpected big win that caught you off guard and you went, wow, that's awesome. Or going the other direction, any negative experiences with a troll that really caught you off guard?
Oh, I had both. Okay. Just as a Titanic creator, the bane of my existence are the switch theory conspiracy theorist. And I've learned to have to like compartmentalize / use the block button liberally. Sometimes there's a good conversation that can happen, but usually not. But I think a lot of the wins are when this is one of my favorite stories. So through my content, I was always horrified that Charles Lightoller's family would find it because I'm a Lightoller fangirl, if you will, and I understand he's a very polarizing person. But I did meet his granddaughter, and she did open up communication, and we talked, and then we realized a painting she had donated, her mother had donated to a museum in Ramsgate, which had been closed, needed to be released. And it's the first time I felt so proud because we managed to actually, as an American, repatriate art from a British museum, which is terrifying. But we did actually, I managed, the content gave me enough of a platform to use it for the good of getting that painting of his boat Sundowner back to his granddaughter. And that's the biggest win I've ever had in my life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have the mic, so I'm going to use it. But then I'm not going to talk again. Yeah, I have a lot of stories of videos that we work on really hard at THG. We spent months and months researching. Top researcher on the team is so young. His name's Boris, and he wrote up this wonderful video that we released last year about Titanic's dogs, and it was a half-hour long. And it was a part 1 of probably like part 3. And we edited it so well. We put so much research and time in it. Jack made new animations. We're like, this is going to be great. We posted it on a weekend that I guess YouTube broke or something. And all content creators were talking about how like, what happened to the algorithm? It's messed up now. And so that, even our like simplest videos, that's what are wins for us, because it'll be like they'll get like 10,000, 20 to 50,000. This dog video is sitting on like 6,000. And we're like, what happened to the dog video? But, you can put a lot of your heart and effort into certain videos and it just won't connect, I guess. But then you can make a 3-minute just video of the Titanic sailing for no reason, just because you have some of the images. There's no research involved. There's no script. There's no nothing. It's music you've had for years. You just put it online and suddenly 250,000 views, and you're like, okay, should we just be lazy? What should we do? What is lazy the best route? Or and then you kind of question yourself, like, well, then why do I want to research? Why do I want to share all this stuff that we're learning? But it's someone out there still going to really want to hear that information that you're finding. We get comments like, "Where's part 2 of the dog video?" all the time. Where's part 2 of the dog video? And I think you're the 5 people who watched it, and you really want to see part 2. So yeah, it's a hectic place, YouTube, at least.
I have a lot of friends in the comedy world who like online making comedy videos and stuff, and they have the same experience that you just described. And then same with my day job, when people are making videos for Peacock, like a Love Island compilation, stuff like that. Everyone says the same thing, and it's just interesting that it also applies in a history context. Like comedy people will say, I'll spend hours, I'll spend a whole day working on the editing, getting this perfect video, and it'll do okay. And then I'll think of something dumb, I'll click record, say something stupid, post it, and it'll blow up. It is sometimes, it's sometimes the thing that the more like just spontaneity always kind of wins weirdly with people. And so I don't know what that says about us as humans. We feel the authenticity of spontaneity, and maybe we feel the over preparation. I don't know.
Well, I quickly, and I'll stop, I promise. I call like content create, like we have a buffet of options now. And so when you go to a buffet, you pick like your go-to item, usually like what you want. And I feel like that's what people online and sitting at home and going through the Netflixes and the Primes and the YouTubes and everything, other options will be like, okay, I just want to watch a quick little thing like this, and then I'll let it play. And that's how like the views rack up on these videos that you don't expect sometimes, so yeah. Get this away.
So jumping into what you were talking about, like misinformation and all of that, I'm not going to say the channel name. If you watch my content, you probably know what I'm going to be talking about. But, it was actually one of your all's videos. So I watched this particular channel where they said an explosion sank the Titanic. And now, obviously, I didn't think it was an explosion, but I watched it before you all made a video about it. And I thought it was just, okay, this person thought it was an explosion, not that it was actually an explosion. But I thought it was interesting. And then THG made a video about the dangers of yellow journalism. Yes. And so I'm like, wow, everything that this channel said was just absolute nonsense. And so this is way before I did YouTube. And then I remember I went by my parents' house and my mother called me and she's like, hey, did you ever hear? Apparently a coal fire sank the Titanic. No. And like I watched like a minute or two of this thing and I just got so angry because they showed this picture of these black marks on the hull supposedly. Yes. That's not even where the fire was. Yeah, that's the cargo holder. That's not even. Yes, yeah. Yeah, and I got so mad, and my mother was like, why are you getting... I'm like, because this is nonsense. And I think it was on the History Channel or something. Like, it was a high production thing. And I'm like, as I'm explaining all this, how do you sell a lie? You mix in elements of truth. It's the same thing with the switch theory, the coal fire. Like, yes, there was a coal fire on the Titanic, but it wasn't actually, it actually delayed the sinking, like based on other accounts, moving the coal and the shifting of the water and all that. But yeah, so after I became a YouTuber and all that, I made a reaction video watching one of this YouTube channel's content and debunking it. And I did not expect how much that blew up. Like, I thought that would be just kind of a one-off, do it for fun, but no. And then I think I ended up with 10 episodes of that just before I was done with it. But yeah, I hate that kind of stuff. But I love it that there's people like all of us up here that go out of their way to disprove it. But unless this is why it's so dangerous, like the coal fire or the switch theory. I think a big part of the switch theory is insurance fraud from the Olympic Hawk collision. That actually did happen. But if you don't research it and you don't know it, it would fool 90% of the people out there who don't know this stuff. And that's just why I'm thankful to be part of this community and everyone here who works to disprove that stuff. And we try to fight the clickbait, so to speak. And yeah, so I hate that stuff, but I love it that we're here to fight it. So
just to quickly add on to that, the other part of this now, like I said, I spent a lot of time also handling our social media. And one thing that can kind of come as a consequence of, like in our case, like my case, like a post blowing up or something, is that it kind of breaches containment. And by that, I mean, it's no longer just our followers seeing the content. Well, now it's gone far beyond our followers into your just average internet citizen. And a lot of these, everyday people will see our content come up on their feed, and they have watched, the high budget History Channel documentaries, or they have researched the switch theory. By that, they typed into Google, Titanic switch theory, read one thing that corroborated it, went with it, and they would like to come into our comment section and be so kind as to correct us. And oh, it's so great. And it's really tough because you're seeing these comments roll in and you are just seething. But, it's like you still have to make it like it's a welcoming space. We're not going to, kick you out just because you whatever had.
You have to. You're creating content by interacting with them. So sometimes you are forced to interact with the people who are. You question, are they trolls or what?
Exactly. You could tell it's from a well-meaning place. You still have to interact with them. But yeah, it's like a matter of like some of the people will be so vehement and almost nasty about you do have to like remove their comments, sometimes ban them. But yeah, that is one consequence of something becoming like a post or a video becoming extremely popular and seen by like, outside the community. Is now you have a lot of people that think they know better, that have done no research whatsoever, and just would like to settle the score once for all. And that's where it's like, okay, guys, leave it to the people that have done the research. But that's like the other side of it too.
In terms of trolls, THG is no stranger to them, and we are very vocal about the fact that there has been in the past plenty to complain about with THG, and there still is plenty to complain about. But it's so funny, we interact with them still. One of my initiatives, if you will, when I took over the creative direction of the project was to kill with kindness, to let your work speak for yourself, to take the high road always be kind. It doesn't matter if they call you a member of the KKK, just because that I've been called that multiple times. It's crazy. I don't like it. It makes no sense to whatever. So,
but we still, James, it comes to a point where we still have to protect our team members.
And
that's
we
really
do, there
important.
was that one person, they've now been blocked because that's just like insanity. But there's like this one other guy that we would consider a troll because he's so critical of what we do. And we did end up banning him because of just the sheer negativity. Well, it wasn't reasonable. Like it was clear that he was doing it on purpose to like upset us. But, we started getting close to releasing this alpha, and he reached out to me and he asked if he could be unbanned because he really wants to support the project again. And I literally said, I appreciate it. We are going to keep you banned until the alpha comes out. I want you to play it, and I want you to tell me what you think. You don't have to like it, but like, I just know you're going to go back to hating us again. Like, but it's really tough. But in terms of the podcast, I have such a wonderful group that listens to the podcast, and some of you are here. I think I ended like my third episode by saying, be kind to each other, Titanic community, because that day there had been a lot of like anti-THG conversations that we were trying to like be kind in, and I ended up ending every episode that way from that point on. And I think that's really like brought about like a really kind comment section. But I do get a lot of, especially now that I post my episodes on THG's YouTube channel, which I knew what I was getting into when I started doing that, I get a lot of people who they will literally say on my podcast, they will comment, "You talk too much." They will say, "Why don't you use more images in your videos?" Well, it's a podcast. That's not the point. It's mostly audio. People will always write down in the comment how long my intro is so people can skip the intro and just get to the good part, which I don't advise ever. I usually comment on that you can watch podcasts on double speed if it's really that big of a deal for you. So people, but my favorite is you talk too much, or you use your hands too much when you talk. So there's always going to be those people out there. And my advice to all of us is to just be kind or just don't respond. You will never feel good about responding in a negative way because it will never work. When have we ever been on the internet and somebody, whether it's a political thing or not, whatever, has anybody ever been kind of a troll to you and you've been like, "Hey man, go to hell" or something, and they went, "Oh my God, you're right. I'm so sorry. You're right. I was being mean to you. What was I thinking?"
Yes, I was thinking about it actually. My presence in the podcast world and the movie world and the now book world is quite gentle, I think, because we've made a kind movie. But on IMDb, you're allowed to put audience reviews. So there are like 10 reviews. Please, I invite you to write a review because it really helps the algorithm. And of course, it's loved it. I'll never watch Titanic the same way again. Thank you so much for making this film. And then there's one that says, "Well, I watched this movie because, the reviews are so good. And I just don't know why I had to sit through watching that woman beading that dress. And I mean, it would have been a bit better if the actors had said a bit more." Like what they were doing was basically critiquing my choice as a director and how I put the film together. Like if they had done it, they would have done it this way, which is a little bit, I think, the source of what you're talking about in more general terms. There's always somebody sitting there going, well, I could have done it better. Yeah, but you didn't. Yeah, but you didn't, did you? Do you have a podcast? No, you don't. Did you write a book? No, you didn't. Do you know how much time and effort and resources and brain space and bandwidth and everything else it took? No, you don't. So just keep your opinion to yourself. But you didn't. So you just learn to say nothing. I wish I could have said something, but I've just said it now, so maybe they're listening and they'll be like, oh, wow, that was me. I'm really sorry I upset Alexandra and her lovely film.
Alexandra, did you ever want to I don't know if you can in IMDb, but you start to write up a comment to respond, and it's a paragraph long, and then then you just hit delete. It's like writing a nasty letter and never sending it.
Yeah, you get it off your chest. Yeah, it's out there somewhere, but just, yeah, that's what it is. It's, in general terms, that's what it is. Sorry, but you didn't.
You didn't. I love it. This turned into an organic conversation, and he had his hand up. I'm sorry, Sheila. We got like 5 minutes. Eric.
Yeah, THG question. I really appreciate the fact that now we can roam the ship without people shooting at you and chasing you.
As it used to be.
The thing I really appreciate is the detail. So like that light bulb, when you guys went in and put the filament in there and all, I really love that. And my question is, do you think that software will advance to the point where you guys can put the deck shear back in?
Oh yeah, we're making the deck shear into THG. So, because this is content, prepare for May when we have all sorts of new videos just detailing the modeling aspect of THG. So I will put that in the back of my mind that people want to learn that the shear's back, besides just us talking about, again, like, I don't know what the community really wants or the algorithm wants, but that's now telling me what I think that they do want. So yes, thank you.
Sheila.
Yes, good morning. So I want to thank you guys for this opportunity. Little context, Friday afternoon, I was glued to my TV watching the spacecraft come down. And I don't know if I was emotional because I was remembering what it was like to be 7 years old watching it for the first time, or there was a moment of peace where we weren't at political conflict. And then we walked in here Saturday morning, and I have that same sense of peace and camaraderie and gentleness, as you just said, So I'm really curious about relationships. One thing that has impressed me and touched my heart in these 3 days is the camaraderie you share, the humility you share, the respect you share, the hugs I get for my somatic system. But what is it about the Titanic community of the expertise you have, that you're not in competition with each other, that there is, and I'm pretty good at reading people, so, talk to me about that. Like how does that happen? And how is it that the Titanic story unites this lovely community of experts?
I'll just start real quick by saying I think that it's the people who choose to come to this event are all celebrating our love for the same thing. And it's not a competition because we're all giving each other a big group hug, because that's why we're here. That's why you flew out from all over the country to be here, because you love it. Better than yours. Right. No, we're not in competition, because I think that the people who agreed to come and speak and present here are people who just genuinely freaking love the subject matter and the people who come together. Any other thoughts?
When I was first starting out and everything, it's like, what's the right way I can put it? It was never about competition. It was never about that, and it was just all like what you were saying, we all just have a deep love for this stuff. And I remember not long after I started doing YouTube, it was probably a month or two afterwards. I was actually contacted by a member of THG then, Tom Linsky actually reached out to me back when he was with THG, and me and him talked, and he shared some insights about stuff, and everybody, like, he was the first one to reach out, but it's like everybody tries to help out. Everybody tries to help each other out and learn this stuff, and it's not about okay, who knows more about Titanic than because it's just like we all learn together. Right.
It is rare to find these days. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just we all just try to work together. We all this, and just like the THG guys, like they've been beyond helpful for me, like giving me permission to let me use their all's animation, like in my videos, like yep. And it's just like when I was doing Charles Jalkin or whatever, it's just like showing where the ship was. Okay, so he goes back to his room when Scotland Road is flooding. It gets alcohol and all that, but I have the animation running, and it's the help we show. We're all learning about Titanic. We're all trying to make this history come alive again, and that's my opinion on you.
And just to add on to that too, I have kind of a unique situation in that I feel kind of like when I came into this, I was a bit of an outsider. I have not been, steeped in this community for 10 plus years and doing this. I'm actually fairly, a newcomer, despite, feeling like I've been doing this for a million years now, but it's only been a few years. And I am not going to lie to you guys. To this day, I have like the worst imposter syndrome. It is so hard to be up against like some of the greatest names in Titanic research and maritime history research, and then pretend like I have any voice in the conversation, in comparison to that. But what I found was, despite all of my intimidation to just like ask questions of people, I mean, I've gone into the THG's guys server a lot to ask research questions and for help with scripts and things like that, because I'm just not sure. I'm finding conflicting information, and it's intimidating because it's like, I don't know, from an outsider's perspective, as I felt back then, like, what does it look like? But I never felt for 1 second like anybody was looking down on me or saying, where did you come from? Why are you here? It was all very welcoming. And because of that, because of that, I was able to boost my own confidence a little bit more and put a little bit more into my research and not be so held back by that imposter syndrome. So it is a very, very welcoming environment, and I'm so, so, so grateful to have found this community.
And it's important. And it's important work and it's hard work to make sure that that's the experience, because that has not been the experience for all of us at all times. I feel like there's a half maybe of the Titanic community that has a very different version of Titanic information sharing in that it doesn't exist. And so I think THG has not always, THG has more recently in the last 5, 6, 7 years or whatever been much more like, take our stuff, use this. Oh, you need information? Here it is. What do we want in return? I don't know. Say our name on your show. I don't know, whatever. Just like, so we have been, and I think everyone on stage here has been trying to foster a much more an environment like I think we're experiencing this weekend. And I love it because last year when we had this event in the Mauritania room, we had many of you here, and it was such a welcoming and kind group. And multiple people said to me at the event and since then that they were like, that was not my usual experience. Like, so so credit to all of you. It takes work in this world to be kind. And I think a big part of it is seeing each other face to face, because I have to believe that if you are face to face with another human being, we will naturally be kind to each other.
It's the human
The
element.
internet takes that away from us and makes us mean. And so it's easier to do it here, but when you go home and you go back online, keep being kind to people.
Keep that in mind.
I think James and Alexandra and I, we've talked about this before. It's just like the people who come to this event, Titanic Weekend on the Queen Mary, are not trying to claim or take ownership of any part of Titanic. Like, we're just coming together to share. It's the opposite. We're just sharing our love. We got time for one more.
Hello, everyone. My name is Quinn. I'm very blessed and happy to be here. Many, many years ago, I discovered your channel, Sam, and I was just amazed by just the amount of effort and passion that you had since when I was little. I watched the Titanic movie from 1997. Of course, I'm 20, so I wasn't born then, of course, but I but but okay. But it's still my favorite movie to this day, and I've been super, super passionate about maritime history. In fact, some of my early family ancestry actually immigrated to the United States on the RMS Olympic from Ireland, and so some of my dad's side of the family still, in fact, have artifacts from 1912 that I do currently have, and it's so that has really kind of been like a backbone of my passion. And so by coming here today, I just want to just maybe give words of encouragement to just keep fighting and keep pushing back against the hatred. And this is my friend Brian, who I met at my college, and he's really into maritime history as well. I also wanted to make kind of like a comment. Last week, I think I was coming from Catalina Island. Those who haven't been, you have to go. It's worth it. I saw the Queen Anne off the coast of California, and that was like so random. I'm like wow. And then and then in February, I believe, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to see because I live here in Long Beach, to see the Queen Mary 2, and that was something. That was my first time ever seeing that. And it was just so amazing hearing the original Queen Mary horn, which I found out later. I'm like, wow, so beautiful. But my question to you guys is, do you guys know, just out of curiosity, when the Queen Mary 2 will retire, and if there will be a new ocean liner after?
I know that I spoke with Dr. Stephen Payne when we were visiting with the team, the SS Great Britain in Bristol, and I was lucky enough to speak with Dr. Payne, who is the designer of the Queen Mary 2 and an absolute legend. I don't know if you guys know of Stephen Payne, but oh my God. But I actually asked him that question exactly. And when I was traveling on the Queen Mary 2, I asked some of the crew as well what they thought on the subject. And the answer was they believe that she's still, what I was told, she's still got maybe 20 years left in her. They are consistently refitting her. And I believe she's scheduled for a dry dock in the next year or two to, kind of add some upgrades and some important, reinforcements to keep her going. As for whether or not there will be another ocean liner, Dr. Payne was less than forthcoming. He's, obviously not as young as he was when he designed QM2. He would love to see it, he said, but whether or not there is another Stephen Payne out there that might be up to the task of making another ocean liner, we can only hope that, maybe there's a young whippersnapper that's been enjoying a lot of Titanic and maritime history content online, and maybe inspires them to become the naval architect of the next great ocean liner. And that's kind of where that kind of left off. So.
Perfect answer to the question. Perfect person to answer the question. All right, we've been so good on time this whole weekend. I want to end it real quick by just going down the line with anything you want to say to our audience out there. I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for being here at Queen Mary Weekend. Thank you for sharing the passion in such a kind way, and for your warm hugs. And we love you guys.
Just that the most beautiful thing being a part of this world, we talked a little bit about it in your comments and in your comments as well. One of the biggest videos I posted a couple of weeks ago was to the sound of the Queen Mary 2 blaring its horn to Queen Mary and talking about that emotional connection. And just not just with Titanic, but all these ships. We one of the best things that you guys do and that we get to be a part of is keeping the stories alive, keeping the memories alive of these people. And it's just my favorite part. So thank you for all. That's the answer to your question. It's love. We love it, and we all love it, and we love the people who are involved. So just keep that energy. And yeah, that's it.
My ending is a little bit of a plug for my book, which feels like I'm here talking about a book that's not out for another year. But in the meantime, I have a Substack, which will have little teasers, little excerpts from the book and other things, other sort of backstories, all through the lens of the film, obviously, because that's where I come from. So please subscribe to the Substack. I'm also going to be releasing some limited edition digital downloads. The first one is out, and they're called Titanic Memories. And again, through the lens of the film and the actors who are involved that I know, I'm creating articles and stories. So you don't have to wait until March. But I would suggest that you follow that, because then you'll be able to do pre-order of the book and add it to your shelf of collected Titanic books. It's being published by the History Press, which I bet you all have a History Press book in your collection. So it's one of the gold standard Titanic publishers. Oh, my Substack, I beg your pardon. Well, it's under my name, but also the Titanic Movie Diaries. So, there's so many platforms now to spread your love that it gets a bit blurry. But that it's the Titanic Movie Diaries, and that's the title of the book as well. So please keep the community going, keep joining us, because we're all here.
I'll close out by saying that, I feel incredibly thankful that I get to do this as a job now. And the way that I've always kind of gone about my videos is I pretend that the camera is all of you. I'm sitting at a table having a one-on-one conversation with each and every single one of you. And then when I'm reading the comments or interacting with all of you in my Discord, I try to be very active in there, just hearing your feedback and your responses. It means the world to me, and I wouldn't get to do this if it wasn't without all of you and all of your support. And just thank you, and here's to the future.
Yeah, I got one, but no, you're fine. No, my ending would probably just be to say it. I'm just so grateful to be here. Obviously, I mean, to the point where if you would have told me even 4 years ago that I would be here sitting on the stage with these people in front of you guys on the Queen Mary, talking about this, working on what I work on, doing what I do with the people. I mean, I would have never believed you. In a million years, I would have told you you're nuts. I work at a music store. I hate it, and that's my life. I would have never believed you, but here I am, and I'm so grateful, so grateful to do what I do every day. I constantly am, like I said before, in disbelief that this is what I get to do for a living, and that I get to do it, with such amazing people. And yeah, I'm getting a little being a little sappy, but I can't help it. This is great. This is amazing. And yeah, I hope I get to keep doing this for the rest of my life, because I definitely feel, more than anything I've done or worked on in my life, this feels like my calling in a way that I can't even describe in words. So I want to keep doing it. And so fingers crossed that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, I guess I need to definitely thank everybody here for just watching Titanic content that is made. Not just because, this is, I think we've all established by now that we just do this because we love doing this, and we just want to share everything we have. But people will ask in videos, send messages saying, how can I help support THG? And I'm like, I can't ask for more money, even though that's what we really need to pay people to make this. So, the best way is to just, watch. Oh God, I'm gonna say it. Watch, like, and subscribe. Ring that bell. Or it's kind of true. But so thank you to everybody out there, and the people who haven't seen any of our videos yet, who are going to become future Titanic ship obsessed people after watching just one or listening to one podcast from any of us up here. You're all content creators in a sense. It's content, and you absorb the content. We absorb the content, and it helps to generate more and more. And that shares the love and the knowledge and everything about it. So yeah, it's not just about people who make it; it's about people who watch it. And last thought that came is, thank you for watching our stuff, and not so much the slop that is also now all over that's created by non-humans. That is possibly a scary thing, but yeah, that's a whole different subject.
Yes, beware of the AI. I'll keep my thing short because I'm sure we're bleeding into the next presenter's time, and whoever's next must be a really good presentation. So they probably worked really hard on it. I guess last thing I'll say is, like everyone else, thank you for watching and all that. But if you feel like you have a story to tell or a content to create, do it. Follow the thing that lights you up inside, that you would like. If you feel like you would do it whether people would watch it or not, then yeah, you should do it, because that's like most of us, I think all of us probably started doing the thing we're doing knowing full well no one would watch it or whatever, and then they did, and what they're responding to is passion. We're all in a world of a very niche topic. I know Titanic is everything to us, but in the grand scheme of things, Titanic is very niche, and we are all doing a niche thing within that. Like my podcast is specifically about survivor testimony of one disaster. It's extremely niche, but if there's anything I've learned in my life in Titanic, and prior to this podcast, I used to do like a little Beatles kind of podcast, and that's not as niche, but the thing I was doing with it was very niche. People just respond to passion, and they can tell that it lights you up inside, and they can tell that you would do this with or without them, and they appreciate that. And so if you find the thing that lights you up, do it. And people might not watch it right away, and it's hard. It's hard to put something up that you spent a month on, and like not as many people watched as you hoped, and you got way more negative comments than you thought you would. Just keep doing it. It's okay. You'll break through, and just do it. Don't be afraid. That's it for me.
Yeah.
Follow your heart's fire and make each day count. Thank you all so much. Give it up for all these content creators. Thank you for being here.